Hi, I'm Eunice here with Brent McDougal. I am currently in Molina High School in Dallas, Texas. Welcome. So what does a Board of Trustees do?
The Board of Trustees has a very important responsibility in our school system. We are the elected representatives that then sit together in a group that overall helps to shape policy and to work with the administration so that our schools can succeed. Dallas ISD is a really big school system, 155,000 students. It's a big responsibility, and we want to make sure that every child has the opportunity for success. We want to educate every child for success. And that means providing the best academics that we possibly can in our schools. That means also that we would provide safe environments, that we would be doing all that we can to really support students and families in their educational journey, because we want them to grow up and be good citizens. We want them to grow up to have good professions and to fulfill the dreams that they have. Education is a huge part of that. So the Board of Trustees has a responsibility over the whole school system. It helps to set the budget. It helps to create policy that will guide the administration. And really it helps to relate back to the community so that everyone can understand all that's happening in Dallas ISD.
Okay. So what is your immediate goal if elected to be the trustee of District 7?
My immediate goal is to really support teachers in some special ways. Teachers are the backbone of our education system. I'll bet you've had a teacher that's really meant a lot to you, or perhaps more than one. Really, the teacher-student relationship is the fundamental building block of Dallas ISD. And so everything that happens, from administration to buildings to extracurricular activities, all of that really helps to sort of focus on and to support that essential parent or that essential teacher-student relationship. I want to do what I can to really support our teachers. Often our teachers feel overstressed, they feel undervalued, they often even feel blamed for what happens when there's not the best educational environment for students or outcomes are not what they could be. I want to help with that, because I believe that teachers are the most valuable resource that we have in our education system. So I want to do that by doing two things. And you may have heard about an evaluation system that teachers have that's called the Teacher Excellence Initiative.
Oh yeah, the surveys we take like at the end of the year?
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that is a system that many teachers believe needs to be changed. Many teachers believe that it's unfair, and they feel like they're not compensated well based on that system. And there's some components of that that they just feel like are not really fair to them to be judged in that way and then compensated based on that particular system of metrics. So I want to help to correct that. I want to advocate for a different type of evaluative system. I want our teachers to be evaluated based more on what many large organizations have adopted in terms of pay for performance, so that teachers are involved with setting goals, they're involved in how well they're meeting those goals, professional development. Yes, student outcomes are a part of that, but how much are teachers being graded on and compensated based on the progress that they're making overall? I believe that we can correct that. And in doing so, I want to see standard pay continue to be increased every year based on cost of living and the opportunity for merit pay. So I want to help our teachers in that regard. The second thing that I want to do is reduce high-stakes testing. There's more and more testing that are part of the school experience. And we know that tests are just part of school, right? We know we're going to face them. But what's happening is there's more and more tests that students have to deal with and teachers have to accommodate. So that many times they're sort of pausing their content in the classroom just to teach toward a test. And in doing so, many teachers feel like they're not able to do what they really want to do. So I want to reduce especially high stakes testing that has to do with basing a teacher's compensation based on how well a student does relative to those testing outcomes. I believe if we do those two things, if we fix TEI, if we reduce high-stakes testing, we're going to see morale among teachers rise. We're going to see retention, how long a teacher will stay in the district, also increase. And I think that we're going to see students happier and able to achieve more.
So how was your previous leadership experience prepare you to be a successful trustee?
Yeah. Well, I believe that it would be a great honor and a privilege to be a trustee with Dallas ISD. I take that very seriously. And I see it in the role of being a community servant.
Yeah.
So I have experience with education. I have been involved with helping to administrate high-quality pre-K for 15 years of my career.
Oh, wow.
I also have a background in other ways of education, such as literacy and teaching ESL. So I've been involved with education in some different ways. The second thing is that I'm a parent. I believe that my education background is important, but I believe that really my parent perspective is what I can really help with Dallas ISD. I've had 2 kids that have been through Dallas ISD. They've had very positive experiences. I know a lot of parents and understand that perspective of how do you make a school choice, how do you do what's best for your child. I believe I can bring the parent perspective. And the third thing is that I have a background in community leadership that I think could benefit Dallas ISD. For 25 years, I've been involved in lots of community boards. I've been invested in my own neighborhood for a decade. I've served in a variety of places serving youth and children, doing things like helping to launch food pantries in our local schools, because we know that if a child is hungry, they're not going to be able to learn to the highest degree. So in all those ways, I've tried to serve, and now I believe that I can leverage all of that leadership and parent and education experience in order to best represent District 7.
Okay. So how has being a pastor in Lake Cliff prepared you to be a successful school board trustee?
The biggest way that it's prepared me is in knowing the needs of families that are involved in so many different schools. So we have children and youth that we serve as part of our church, and they're involved in so many different public schools. And in getting to know them, I understand something about the challenges that they face. It's why we do things like provide backpacks and why we make sure that our families have enough food. We really try to wrap around those families different services that can best serve them, because we know that it can be expensive, all the extra things around school. Many times students, at least related to what I do with my church, I hear stories about how they feel like their education is not the best that it could be, or their school is not functioning as well as it could. And maybe they struggle in the classroom with anxiety or depression, some having real mental illness, and they have real family problems. So what I have seen as a community leader is just the needs of real families. And I think that we need to understand those in order to help families to have a successful DISD experience.
So what do you believe is the greatest challenge that District 7 is facing?
Yeah. District 7 has many challenges. I believe that the most important challenge is helping to increase the good things happening within our schools already, so that parents will want their children to come to their local neighborhood schools. We have great schools. We have schools that are performing at a really good degree. They're all rated A or B, and they continue to grow in academic excellence. But many times parents don't know that, or they feel like their local school isn't the best for their children. And again, I get that, because as parents, we're always going to choose what's the best education, what's the best environment for my child. So what I believe a trustee can do is to really help to improve schools with the administration, so that they can be the best that they can be. I want to help keep families in the district by improving academic rigor in our schools. That's by expanding high-quality pre-K and also expanding our collegiate academies. Then I want to see our schools thrive with more resources as we mobilize the community, businesses, nonprofits, churches, to really help with extra programs and with resources that classrooms need. And then I believe we can increase the curb appeal of many of our schools. A lot of times other schools that people might choose, they look really nice, they have this kind of environment, I mean, we're in a great high school. This is a great place. But many schools, you walk up to them and it doesn't have that same kind of curb appeal. And I believe we can use dollars that are already present through previous bond money or with future bond money that can really help our schools to look better, just improve that environment, so that parents will feel like not only is this a great school academically, but wow, this school looks great. My child is going to be encouraged here. This is a great environment for my child.
So all serious aside, I wanted to ask a little personal question.
Sure.
So what's your favorite place you've been to outside of Dallas?
Wow. That's hard to nail down. I'm going to say one that I was there about a year ago, and I'm thinking a lot about it today because it's Paris, France.
Oh, wow.
So 1 year ago this week, I was in Paris, and I was visiting Notre Dame.
Oh, wow.
And Notre Dame has been, unfortunately, had this big fire yesterday, and I just think about the beauty of that place, how important it is to the city. And France, and especially Paris, is just an incredible setting. So my heart feels that today. I would say Paris, France is one of the most amazing places I've ever been.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never been there, but I'd like to visit one day.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So hello, my name is Crystal Ramirez. I'm here with Brent McDougal at Molina High School in Dallas, Texas. So my first question for you is racial equity a priority for your campaign?
Racial equity is a huge priority for my campaign. It is so important because so often we have schools within District 7, but also other districts around DISD, where the resources are not spread in an equitable way. There's a difference between a thinking of, all schools should be equal. Basically every school has the exact same thing. The truth is, we really want to be working toward equity, which says that we're providing resources in a way so that we provide the same opportunities for students. And if we look across Dallas, what we're going to see is that we do not have equity. There are so many schools that are not funded to the degree that they need. There are so many schools that feel like they lack, and many schools that will function in a way with much less resources than their other counterparts. That has a lot to do with maybe how much prominence the school gets, the area of town that it's in, how many parents are advocating for that school. There's a lot of different factors, but the truth is none of those factors excuse not providing every child in every school with resources that are going to help them to succeed. Dallas ISD's mission is to educate students all towards success. That's the goal. You want every child to have that opportunity. So I believe as a trustee in a place like District 7, my attention needs to be on all schools, but especially on the schools that need more resources.
Of course.
Racial equity is an important part of what I believe I'm going to be doing, and I believe that as I seek to listen to communities, invest what I've been given in terms of just the capital of relationships and being able to connect people to resources, but also to be a voice and an advocate and not back down when it's time to really fight for a school that needs more resources. That's what I'll do to serve schools and to bring greater racial equity.
And what do you plan to do to tackle racism in DISD?
Well, there's no doubt that racism is a huge problem, not just in Dallas ISD, but also throughout Dallas. We have had so many years of separation. I mean, you can trace it through not only through slavery and then through emancipation, through Jim Crow, segregation, then to now really it's housing that tends to separate communities. And there's so many neighborhoods that are not representative of all the diversity that Dallas has. It's a huge, huge problem. I think that as a trustee, you've got to have your eye on that, recognizing that is the context in which we live, and one in which we've got to really seek to overcome. The way that I would do that is by, one, arguing for ethnic studies that are part of school curriculum all through your school career. We should be beginning those in elementary school and all the way through high school. There should be opportunity for someone from a different background to learn about the background of someone else, to affirm the history that they may think, well, that's not my history, but you know what? This is important to someone else. And so we want to be doing what we can to really teach history holistically, and to understand where people come from. I think that helps to bring us together. And then I believe, too, relative to really working to overcome racism, is to really be supportive of opportunities within schools that help to overcome those racial barriers. So there's lots of school organizations that can really help to bring people together. And I hope that as a trustee, I can be involved in those. I can be listening to those groups and doing what I can to build more resources to help, especially those organizations to build bridges.
And what will you do to prioritize social, emotional, and mental health of students? What concrete strategies do you have to address these issues?
Sure. So mental health and well-being is one of my top 3 priorities. My 3 priorities are teacher support, second, mobilizing the community, and third, mental health and well-being. And I have that third priority because of my own experience, not only with working with the WELL community, which is a group that serves adults with severe mental illness. I've learned so much about that, but also my own experience as one who experienced depression. You know, at a point in my life, that was something that hit me, and it was really a struggle. There's so many students in our classrooms that struggle with mental health issues. 1 out of 4 kids in Dallas ISD will have a mental health crisis in the upcoming year, and that equates to between 35,000 and 40,000 kids. 1 out of 5 high school students will have suicidal thoughts. To me, we're on the verge of a public health crisis unless we invest more in terms of mental health resources. So 2 effective strategies that I think are really important for the future. The first one is decreasing the student to counselor ratio. Right now, especially in our secondary schools, it's at 1 for every 500 students. That's not nearly enough counselors. We need more people who are listening to students and really able to resource them. So I would work to reduce that ratio. The second thing that I would do is really seek to empower communities to be learning together about mental health. I believe in a school like this, it should be thought of as like a community center where families and teachers and students and community members can all come together to learn about mental health. You know, it doesn't just impact just one group within society. It affects all of us, And a student that might not have a mental health crisis of their own might have a parent at home who is really struggling. And what that means is they don't have the home environment that's really going to help them to thrive. So I would want to make our schools places of learning and places of vulnerability around talking about mental health, and really connecting students and families to real resources so that students can achieve all the potential that is within them.
And what do you plan to do to ensure socioeconomic status is not a barrier for students to be successful in and out of the classroom?
This is an important question because there is so much that separates us. We talked about race, but I think that social and economic status can also be a huge divide. In fact, sometimes even bigger than race. Many students feel that awareness of they don't have the same resources as other people maybe in the classroom.
Their peers, yeah.
Right. So I believe in personalized learning. I believe that teachers need to have adequate resources and understanding so that they can help to provide for students. This is what I believe I can bring to District 7. The relationships that I've got to really mobilize the community, whether it's businesses or nonprofits or churches that can provide more wraparound services for students so that when a need is identified, there is just a very short gap of time before we can help to really provide that. Correct, yeah. So I think that's one way that you overcome that, and you just do all that you can to provide what students really need to succeed. Then I believe, as we talked about before with equity, I think that we need to identify even whole schools where there's a sense of not having adequate resources, families that economically just aren't able to provide. So what we do is we provide equalizers such as high quality pre-K. We believe that should be standard for every family at no cost. We believe that that's going to ultimately help to level the playing field, getting all students ready for that kindergarten experience and ready to achieve. That's one way that we can work for equity. And then we, also on the top end, we extend our collegiate academies. Mm-hmm. And so we help to train students to have opportunities to really succeed. So here's one example. With some schools, they are able to move into a collegiate academy and go ahead and earn an associate's degree before they even graduate. Yeah. What an incredible opportunity that is. And through different connections, you can move from that associate's degree into a 4-year university. 2 years later, you have a full degree. You have a full college degree, not just an associate's degree, but a full bachelor's. And in that, you could be a teacher with Dallas ISD. You could come out of there with an education degree. You could be making $51,000 at the age of 20. if you were able to do that. So again, back to how do you help a student succeed through that trajectory? We need to be growing up teachers right in our school system, you know, helping to equip them. And it's a great way that we can help to create opportunity and a greater sense of equity for all of our students.